I am successful. I look for and find opportunities where others see nothing. I am a lifetime learner. I am solution focused. I see only solutions. I am a solution. Welcome to the Be Transformed podcast. I'm the catalyst and my name is Lanre Olusola. And this is your go-to space for everything practical, everything intelligence, everything that relates with your life from career all the way to spirituality. And this is where we get, the heart of the mind working such that mind transformation brings about your transformation in every area of your life. And our conversations here empower you to be able to identify the biggest challenges in your life and overcome those challenges. And today, we're bringing in the conversation that centers around. So, are you struggling in your career? Are you struggling at work? Are you struggling on your job? Are you struggling with your business? That's the conversation that we're having with you today. And with my guest together, we're going to be helping you transform your career, your work, and your business. And today, we're diving into the topic titled Picking the Best Career for You in this new age and in this new world of work that we live in. And I've got none other than Kemi Oye, who is a distinguished HR strategist, a career and executive coach, a TEDx speaker, a podcast host, and workforce futurist. She's got over 2 decades of experience in human resource management. She empowers leaders and high potential professionals to navigate workplace transitions and help them build confidence to achieve board level impact in this evolving world of work. As an HR strategist and organizational development expert with the NHS England, she leads the people strategy and she has played a very pivotal role in the NHS England merger projects that has impacted over 22,000 employees. She has led multi-million pound transformation projects, national talent initiatives, and she has developed leadership frameworks that drive performance, productivity, and lasting change. She's a chartered member of CIPD UK. She holds a BA Hans and in International HRM and a diploma in coaching and several certifications in advanced coaching, executive coaching, and neuroscience methodologies. She also serves as a Secretary General of the Life Coaches Association of Nigeria, and she's on a UK advisory board, and she's a member of G100 Mission Million. Wow. Man, that's a bit of a tongue twister, isn't it? Welcome to my podcast, Kemi. How are you today?
I am very well, thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for having me. I'm super delighted. Thank you for asking. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you for asking as well. Now, let's dive into the conversation, man. This subject matter is very hot. We live in a VUCA and Barney world, but people are struggling. They don't know exactly what to do, how to find, their dream jobs and how to keep their dream jobs. But before we get into the talking about the world of work, let's talk about the person. Okay. In the last 10 years, I've worked, researching the world's most successful entrepreneurs. And I teased out 50 secrets and I've shared it with you. And I've asked you to identify 5 out of the 50, your favorite 5. And also, having worked with great leaders in HR across the world, which 5 would you think will sit at the top of those 50? I know that it would have been a difficult Herculean task. However, this is how I like to set my guests up. So which will be your 5?
Yeah, you're right. It was very hard. I kept on switching and moving and turning around. But I think at the heart of everything, my number 1 was communication. I think communication is life. With good communication, you get far. With bad communication, it can destroy an organization, a business. Communication is so fundamental to everything we do. It's life. In fact, communication is life. So can you imagine you sat here and you're trying to communicate with me and I'm not engaging. Can you imagine you selling stuff and not having anyone to engage? Communication is literally life. Without communication, there'll be no life. Even with your own self, you communicate mind, spirit, body, right? And if that breaks down, then you're no longer alive, you're dead. So if you can't communicate, if your body is saying something to you and you're not listening, or you don't get the memo that your brain is telling you or your body is telling you, then you simply die. So I think communication is life. So that would be my number one. I've seen in organizations where hard messages have been communicated in a really good way and people have been accepting of it. And I've seen likewise hard messages communicated wrongly and it's led to a lot of issues within the organization. So for me, that's number one. Number two would be know thyself. And this is about knowing your boundaries, your limitations. It's about knowing your true power, such that when you do know yourself, you're able to determine what you like, what you don't like, and so on and so forth. It really helps you to understand who you are so that you can position strategically. And I'm talking work-wise now. The third one would be solutions focused. You've got to be able to proffer solutions. That is where your true value lies, in providing solutions, whether it's within your team, organization level. You've got to be, and there are problems everywhere. So I say this, if you listen carefully to every conversation you've had since 9 o'clock today, you will find it's littered with problems. And so your job, my job, is to listen carefully and figure out, how can I solve that problem? How can I solve that problem? And that's where the value comes in. That's where you are able to add value to anything. My next one would be relationships and networks. So developing and building powerful, intentionally building relationships and networks, because of course, without the right relationships and networks, you cannot really do much, because no man is an island, right? You need others to, and in fact, one of the things I say to people is, even in the space of work, it's good to have the technical expertise, brilliant, but I tell you, relationships will get you further. I have been I did interim work for about 14 years of my career, and in those 14 years, the way in which I got moved from one job to another was through relationships and through my name. So people would hear my name, go, oh, I know her. I got a job in 2020 and the director said, oh, I know Kemi. Looked at and it was just my name, right? So relationships, absolutely important, fundamental to growing your relationships, growing your networks, having the right relationships, the right networks that elevate you and get you to where you want to be. Shall I stop there or continue? I've got two more.
Wow, yeah. If you can quickly run through it, then that's
Okay,
fine.
the two
I
more would
said
be
5, you chose 6 extra.
well. See, you taught me well. You taught me well, right?
Yeah.
So the next one would be gratitude. Gratitude is a big, big, big thing. And I think gratitude is at the heart of everything we do, everything I do personally. Gratitude helps your health, your mental being, your everything. It just has a way of giving you life. So gratitude is big for me. And then finally, visualization. Regardless of what you want, you can set goals, you can do anything you want to do in life. It's always helpful to visualize, to have a vision of that thing, and then the rest is easy. Once you create it in your mind, it becomes. And so the rest is about you taking action and doing what is required to manifest what you visualized, whether it's your vision, whatever it is. So those are my 7.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you very much for sharing. So let's jump into this whole world of work, career, business, whatever you call it, whether you call it your work, whether you call it your job, whether you call it your career, or whether you call it your business, right? It is your vocation, your profession, and that which you use to add value, on a daily basis. Now, when we were growing up, our parents will insist that when you're filling your jam form, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, well, we're speaking to us Africans, right? Your parents will choose what course you go and apply for in uni. It's completely different today. So we've transitioned from the upbringing where we were told what to do, how to do it, and that's how we got into choosing, our professions. And many of us stuck with those professions. Some of us got rid of those certifications and degrees and pursued our dreams. Many of us were confused. Today is completely different. So the methodology today is you go to guidance and counseling sessions in school, you hear motivational, speeches here and there. You get on the internet, you get confused, and you hear your friends, this is what they want to do. Your lecturers advise you on the way to go. And so the way that we got into our world of work and the way that they get into world of work today is completely different. What is the right way to find the right career that suits you? What is the right way to find the right business that suits you? What is the right way to find the right job that suits you? Right? You talk about fit to fit, which is your own intellectual property. How do you find the career or the job or the business that fit you? And what is really the concept of fit to fit?
Thank you for that question. And that resonates with me. So when you say, your parents, your teachers, your friends misdirected you into where you found yourself, the thing is, you can find yourself in a place where it's not desirable, you're not fulfilled. What to do is to not stay there. Because sometimes people feel, I'm in this thing, I've been doing it for years, I know what to do. Well, staying stuck will no longer work for you, right? Staying in the same place where you're not happy is really stagnation, to be honest. So you need to find a way of coming out of that place to add value to the world, because staying stuck will actually eventually get you really, truly stuck and you'll be left behind. So there's a couple of things that I want to address from the loaded question that you asked, and that whole fit to fit. So moving from frustrated, irritated, and traumatized to a place of fulfillment, impact, and transformation requires a framework which I call the STEP framework. And that is looking at your strengths, your talents, your critical experiences, and your passion, right? That's the framework I use for moving people from one state to another. But I will come to this in the new world of work. It's not just about identifying your strengths, your talents, your experiences, and your passion. It really is about, and you touched on this very briefly when you were speaking about the ikigai, about what you love, what you do. There's a career fitness ikigai, right? And it's based on 4 different principles. So if you're really keen about not being left in the new world of work, because essentially, what is the new world of work? It's how things are very fundamentally different in this new landscape. And it's about what has changed is how we work, where we work, and why we work. And that has changed. And so to get into that place where you're happy where you are, you've got to think about these 4 critical factors: skills, mindset, purpose, and culture. So it's the skills fitness, mindset fitness, purpose fitness, and cultural fitness. So when we talk about skills, shall I go on? Because I can, this is a lot to unload. If you want me to carry on, I will do. Yeah.
Oh yes, so it's moving away from the concept of how you used to do it to the concept of how you should be doing it, which is what you're talking about, using what you call the career ikigai. Wow, which is 4 dimensions: skills, mindset, purpose, and culture. Please elaborate on that, and also try and just project your voice a bit more.
So there are 4 quadrants. It's the skills, the mindset, purpose, and culture. In the skills quadrant, you've got to think, right, realistically. thinking about, so just look at where you are in your organization. And some organizations are further advanced than others, but you've got to think about, use the forward thinking organizations as a benchmark, as an example, right? So you would look at your skills and say, what are my current skills? What do I have that is still relevant? What don't I have that is not relevant? And you do that skills audit, okay? What you need to do is think, what skills is really needed in the new world of work? And you would find a lot. So the World Economic Forum produced a report, right, about the future of jobs. And it talks about all these skills that are required, so critical thinking. So it highlighted cognitive skills, data and tech skills, self-management skills, all those things, right? So your job is to go, okay, these are the skills needed for the future. How far away am I from what I see? And then your job is to start finding ways to plug the gap. Okay. Now, someone might say, oh, but my organization don't train and they don't have a big budget and it's difficult. Well, the onus is on you to search more broadly. There are so many platforms, online platforms, that provide you with ways in which you can gain these skills. So you've got LinkedIn Learning, you've got, what's it called? edX, you've got Coursera, you've got Udemy, OpenLearn, FutureLearn, ShareSkill. You've got so many platforms that you can get free training on, and not just free training, at a very minimal fee. You might be able to pay to get a certificate for doing maybe extra and stuff like that. So there's so many ways in which you can gain the right skills that are required for the new world of work. So if you're lacking in cognitive skills, these skills that I've mentioned, data and tech skills, self-management skills, if you're lacking in any way, shape, or form, your job is to do that assessment and see how you can plug the gap. That's the first quadrant, right? The second quadrant is mindset. And this is about your adaptability, your agility, your ability, your growth mindset, resilience. So what's going on in that space in your mindset? Here's the thing, right? Where you are, right, is where you are. And if we're talking about the new world of work, slightly different to probably the skills that got you to where you are. And so the skills that you have now, or the mindset that you have now, is not the same mindset that will take you a step further. So at every point in time, you've got to check, what am I thinking? How am I thinking in relation to where I'm going? And you know how you say a problem that's created at level maybe 1 cannot be solved at level 1. So you've got to go a step higher and solve that problem at level 2. Same thing with your mindset. Where you are now is not going to get you to where you need to get to. And so you've got to think, what are the things I need? What are the courses? How can I develop myself? And you do this so well. So emotional mastery courses, NLP, EFT, all those courses that help you sharpen your mind, train your mind, enable you to have a growth mindset so that your mindset is aligned with what's going on and where you need to get to. Very critically important that you think about, how are you thinking? So do an assessment. How are you thinking? Another one is, so that's skills. You've got skills, you've got mindset, and now purpose. Purpose is essentially your values and sense of impact. Okay, so do an assessment. Sit in your organization and think, the work that I do, does it bring me to life? Am I able to, so if I were to think about what I'm really good at, what I'm passionate about, so think about your strengths, talents, experiences, and passion. Does it align with the work that you do? And I talk about this in my ebook called The Ultimate Career Fitness Health Check. There are a number of questions you need to ask yourself to find out, am I aligned? Am I aligned? Because if there's a misalignment, chances are that you'll be frustrated, you will be irritated, and you will be traumatized, because what is essentially you is almost like killed. It's not brought to life. So you're carrying stuff that can be of value, but you're not delivering it because you haven't found that space to give you expression. So there's that. That's purpose. And then finally, you've got the culture. So this is about the digital world that we live in, right? Everything's diverse and fast-paced environment. How adaptable are you to that culture that it already is, right? How are you able to flex? Flexibility was one of my 7, actually, which I skipped. Being able to morph, being able to adapt, because the world of work is changing and it will keep changing. Nothing is not going to go back to how we were 5 years ago, pre-COVID, right? 5 years ago. It's not going to go back. There's so many things that have changed. And therefore, how would you thrive in a very different, culturally diverse environment? What are the things that you need to do differently to ensure that you're able to adapt to the new way of working? Are you agile enough to read the signs? So at the center of that, so that's what I'm talking about. So it's skills, mindset, purpose, and culture. Right at the center, at the intersection of all these things is where you will find, this is where I am. And you would also find that actually what you need, where you need to go, where you need, what direction should you be pursuing in terms of what you have within you. So I hope that answers the question.
Wow, fantastic, fantastic. And you did talk about a health check ebook.
Mm.
It'd be good if we're able to direct people in towards getting where that health check ebook can be found. So you talked about, two critical things now. You've talked about, the step. And that step, which talks about your strengths, talks about your talents, talks about your experience and your passion. It's very, very important for you to do that audit, right? And then when you do that audit, you also do the audit about your skills, your mindset, your purpose, and culture. And so, how do you now integrate those two frameworks? To be the best person, that is fit for that role, to be the best person that is fit to be providing that solution as an entrepreneur, to be the best person that is fit for that work that you're doing. How do you integrate both frameworks, so that you now apply it to you apply it to the job so that you can deliver for the organization?
Okay, so you need a roadmap. You need a roadmap. You need to figure out, okay, this is where I am. So maybe I'm not happy where I am, and I've now done all of this stuff, and I see that, okay, these are my strengths, my talents, my experiences, my passion. These are the skills that I need, my purpose, the mindset I need. So let's assume you've got all of that. Sit down and you say, right, what does this mean? Where exactly are you going? Where do you want to go? Think about, and it's not just about, oh, this is what everyone's doing, because a lot of people say, oh, what's going on, what's the best career to get into. It's not really about that. I wouldn't worry about that just yet. I would worry about, okay, so where do I feel I need to be in the next 5 years? Because I wouldn't even say 10 years. 5 years is even a stretch. Maybe 2 years, actually. In the next 2 years, where do I want to be? And then you go, right, this is what it looks like. This is the job. And in fact, just write yourself a job description. These are the things that I need. These are my terms and conditions. This is what I think. This is where I think I can thrive. And once you've got that roadmap, it's very clear in terms of where you're going, then you've almost got to take a step back and say, right, this does exist because you've created it out of what you've produced. Visualize. So I talked about visualization. Create it, see the future you in the next 2 years, see it. Then you begin to take a step back and think, right, now that I've seen it, what do I need to do to achieve it? What do I need to do to achieve what I have seen? If you have seen, so let me use an example. Let me give an example. So my strengths lie in maybe strengths, experiences, and passion points towards maybe something like a project manager, for example. And then I've done my skills audit, I've done my purpose audit, I've done my mindset audit. And I said, I need to get training in XYZ. I need to register, enroll for neuro-linguistic programming. I need to look at my values and check what organization fits in the culture, what kind of organization. So you're looking at all those things and you're coming up with a roadmap. So that's what you're doing. So if my roadmap suggests that being a project manager would be great in a tech organization, for example, then that's the vision, right? That's the vision of, okay, this is where I want to be. And then you go through your, okay, this is what I need to do through the help of a coach, a mentor, could even be a sponsor at work. Look for opportunities within where you currently work to see if you can volunteer. Look for opportunities to be stretched. So could it be that you ask to work in different areas of a different project, in different departments? It could also be that you asked to shadow, so shadow opportunities. So could you shadow people? It could also be that as a PM, you know someone in your family who requires a project manager. You could use that as an opportunity to gain the expertise, the skills, to elevate your mind. And throughout this time, you've just got a map of what your journey looks like, and you're categorizing it. So you've chunked it into months, weeks, days, hours. And so you break it down to the minutiae so that every week is meaningful. Every day is meaningful. You've got a focus. You're not living because you just exist and you want to, you live to work and to pay your bills. It's more you're living for a purpose and you're going somewhere. And what you then realize is when you've got that, your relationships will change, your networks will change because you're going somewhere, and where you're going aligns with your essence, essentially. So that's what I would say. Think about opportunities, look at courses, and make sure that you've got it so mapped out that you're not wasting a single second, because you often say you've got 4,000 weeks to live, right? And so if you, depending on how old you are, will determine how many weeks you have left to make an impact, not just to make an income, because it's not just about I'm existing because I want to have a nice income, a nice car, a nice home. It goes wider. You've got so much value that the world is waiting for you to find expression. So this whole project manager person, right? Once you get to a place where you feel I'm a project manager, you can be managing multi-million-pound projects just because you decided to take that leap and move away from what you were doing, which didn't necessarily add value to anyone or to yourself.
Wow, wow, thank you very much. That was really, really incredible. Let's move away from, I mean, we've been talking about career, job, work. So I can hear somebody watching this episode and is asking, for the last 5 years, I've wanted to transition away from paid employment into my own business. Okay. So these guys are not talking about me at all. I don't want to stay in my current job. I'm looking for a roadmap, right, that would transition me from this current job that I'm doing into being an entrepreneur. And working as an executive coach, I know that you've coached quite a lot of people to make that transition. So there's someone out there that is asking that question. How do I transition from, I'm doing very well in this my career, or I'm frustrated in this my career, or I'm not being valued in this my career. I want to transition into being an entrepreneur. What is the roadmap for that person?
Yeah, and that resonates with me because I've been there where I've really not liked waking up in the morning to go into work. So it resonates with me and I get it. But I think you've got to almost take a step back and think, right, I'm not happy. Acknowledge it. Acknowledge the fact that you are where you are and it's not serving you. And once you're able to do that, you then think, it's the reason why you're frustrated here or you're not happy here is not because you're not great at something. It's because there's a mismatch between where you are and where you potentially should be, right? So you want to first of all articulate your value. That's the first thing you want to do before you go jumping anywhere and say, oh, I want out. You've got to take time to articulate your value. There is so many ways in which you can do that. There are so many tests, psychometric tests, many things you can do to understand the value that you bring to yourself and that is valuable to other people. So it's very, very important that you do that assessment of who you are, right? Once you've been able to articulate that, then that's a good starting point. And then even before you move, because a lot of people think, oh, just move. Moving may not be the best thing, right? It could be that you're in the right team, but the wrong organization. It could be that you're in the right team, the right organization, but the wrong industry. It could be that you're in the right team, the right organization, the right industry, but the wrong location. So before you jump, check, am I in the right team, in the right organization, in the right industry, and in the right location? Because a minor tweak to the team could be your breakthrough or your happy place, right? So don't be too quick to say, I hate my job, I'm going. Do that assessment first, right? Once you've been able to articulate that, you then go the next step further, right? Let's assume everything's wrong and you want to change, you want to move from 9 to 5 to an entrepreneur, which is fine. Then you've got to think, okay, so let's have a plan. We can't just jump without having a clear plan of where I'm going and what I want to achieve. Far too many people say, I'm not happy, I want to leave, God told me to leave, I had the instruction, and off I go. And then months later, they're struggling to pay their bills and they're wondering, oh, what happened? Is God not with me? Yeah, well, you didn't take a step back and think, what do I have? What do I have that's of value, right? And once you're able to do that, you then have a plan. So what am I saying? You have a plan. So where am I going? What industries are thriving? As a business person, right? What industries, where do I really want to sit? So with what I have, is it green energy? Is it digital markets? Is it cybersecurity? Is it A&I? Is it what industry? Where are you going? Where do you want to go, right? Then you've got to study. You've got to study, okay, what's happening in those spaces and where would I fit, right? So do your research. Do your research about where you're going, what industry. Do your research about, your audience, who you serve, who do you want to serve. Do all of that, right? So all of that work needs to be done even before you move, right? Don't move without having a plan. If you don't have a plan, then chances are you won't be successful because you felt led or you felt, I found purpose and I'm running. Far too many people do that. So do not move. Be patient with yourself. These things take time. You didn't just suddenly appear where you are because, overnight. It took you time to get there. The point is, don't stay stuck. Find a way forward. And what then begins to happen, because this has happened to myself, is when you see where you're going, it gives you a sense of fulfillment, even though you've not quite reached there. It gives you something to wake up for, something to look forward to, right? So let's assume, like, I'll use the PM example. I'm moving away from my 9 to 5 and I want to project manage something else somewhere else, my own business. So I then have to do my research, look at industry, look at what type of person, who do I want to serve and all of that. Have a plan. And then before you even move, think, is that opportunity, so the business that you're wanting to do, does it exist in my current space? Because again, it's possible that you have that opportunity to do that which you want to do as a business within your own space. Okay. If you're able to do that, and a lot of people say, oh, at this point I'm busy. No. There are always opportunities around you. So there may be an opportunity to glean, to get the skills you need to go into that business in your current employment. It may not be where you're currently working. It may be somewhere else where you know someone else. You have a great relationship with somebody in a different department. And you ask the question, do you think I might be able to come once a week? And then you get your experience at no cost. Even at no cost, right? Stay in the organization. Think about, okay, if I'm jumping to move into my own business, what learning do you need? Can the organization pay for your learning? It works better than you having to fork out the money yourself because you're tired and you're fed up. So where you are, I'm sure there'll be lots of opportunities that you can tap into and think, what is around me that will serve my journey? Once you've looked around you, and it may be that, okay, your organization provides this, and it keeps you there. And what happens is you begin to become happier, because it's not always about the job that's making you unhappy. Sometimes it's just about how you see what you're doing, right? And so it will actually change your perspective of the organization and the value that you're able to bring, because you become a person of value. And therefore, once that's done, you then have to think, okay, I've got this, I've got a plan, whether it's a 2-year plan, and of course you need the help of a coach to help you articulate this plan, to help you challenge that plan. Because sometimes, when you're thinking, oh yeah, I've got this all sorted and blah blah blah, and I know me and I know what and then you run. Honestly, sometimes we don't know ourselves. Let me share with you something profound that I found recently. How long have you been using ChatGPT, sir?
Maybe 6 months or thereabout.
Okay, let's say 6 months, right? And in this 6 months, see what I did recently was I looked at ChatGPT. I call him Uncle Chat because I have a relationship with ChatGPT. And I said to ChatGPT, you've known me for about a year now. Tell me my top 5 blind spots. Honestly, what came back, I was like, whoa, OMG. Even stuff that nobody else would tell me about me. ChatGPT was telling me my 5 top blind spots. I was like, wow. And you're not using this, you're not leveraging on this. I was like, wow. So again, right? If you're somebody who uses ChatGPT a lot, ask that question. You've known me for 3 months, 6 months, a year. What are my top 5 blind spots? And it will literally, what will come up will blow your mind. But essentially, anyway, so these are the things you need to do. Do that. Engage the services of a coach that can help you move from point A to B, because we've all got blind spots. We've all got unrealistic expectations of ourselves sometimes. And a coach will help you, will ask the right questions to help you elicit, what that plan looks like, what's reasonable, what works for you. Think about your resources. How soon can you do it? And then you make that seamless transition in a way that says maybe you then begin to work less and start working in your business. So it could be part-time. You drop to maybe 3 days a week, and then you work on your business 2 days a week, and you make that seamless transition until you get to a point where you feel, I'm steady now, I can cross over.
Profound, profound. Thank you very much. And this speaks to the different kinds of people and different kinds of personalities that different people have, and the different approaches, towards achieving your goals. So what we're saying is that, first of all, know exactly what it is that you want to do as a business, what problems you want to solve as a business, whose problem you want to solve as a business, and how best to approach them as a business, and then do your financials in the next 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. This is what you want to turn over. This is the kind of clients you want to serve. This is how many clients you want to solve their problems and all of that. Do that research, right? And make sure you crystallize where you're going first, right? But in approaching, this entity that will deliver on that, then you've got to come back and think about yourself and ask yourself, before I leave this job, do I have 12 months savings? Because if I'm not earning, then it'll be a problem. So have I put 12 months savings that can, fund my lifestyle whilst I go chasing on my dream? Do I have that in place? If you don't have that in place first, and ask yourself a lot of the questions that Kemi's talked about. How can I find that opportunity where I'm currently working? Is there any department here that I can develop the skills? Do I even have the requisite knowledge, skills to launch out and do it, and do what it is that I'm passionate about doing? Do that audit. If you don't have that kind of cash flow, and then you want to ask yourself, wow, let me stay here and build, that cash flow such that when I launch out, even when that business doesn't pay me back. And this is where a lot of people fail. They get into business and they think that the business money is their money. The business money is the business's money. And the business needs to pay you a salary that you will live on. Because if you take the business money and you think it's your money, that business is not going to have any money to run the business in another 2 or 3 years. And so what happens? The business fails. So before you set up that business, right, you've got to also do a projection on the revenue, and the revenue has to be able to pay your salary and to maintain the kind of lifestyle that you currently have, or you have to make sacrifices. That's very, very key. Now, if you look at it from that perspective, then you'll be intelligent in your approach to make that transition. A lot of people make the transition without doing the audit. A lot of people make the transition without actually thinking about the business aspect of the business and then how that business pays them. They think that, if I set up this business with 20 million and I make 20 million, wow, then that's, 40 million. Now check your current salary. You will realize that your current salary is 60 million per annum. That means that if you take the 20 million, go and set up a business and you make additional 20 million, there's operational cost for 20 million, which means that the business is only making 20 million and your current income is 60 million. You realize that that business cannot pay your salary. And if you take that, your lifestyle is a 60 million naira lifestyle. It means that if you take the 20 million you invested and the 20 million you generated, you still have a 20 million shortfall. You will have to go and borrow to fund your lifestyle, which means that you have taken the 20 million from the business, the 20 million the business made, and you've borrowed 20 million, and then you've just been able to maintain your lifestyle. Now, it means that you are owing 20 million, and then you don't have money for the next cycle of the business. And this is where a lot of people fail. The business money is not your money. The business money is not your money, which means that you've got to do this exercise first and you've got to project it forward and ask yourself, can that business pay me? If that business cannot pay you what you are currently earning, then it's not yet time to. If you don't have the cash to pay yourself what you currently earn, then it's not yet time to move. If you haven't cut your costs and reduced your lifestyle to what the business can pay you, and you are comfortable with that, you make that sacrifice now for a later time when you can enjoy. You delay gratification now for the future. Is not yet time. It is great to transition to business, but when is very, very important. How is very, very important. What you are transitioning from to is also very, very important. Where you are going to do that business is even more important, because where you're going to situate that business has to be able to be where your customers have easy access to you. The place is very, very key. And, you've got to also realize that, there's a new dynamic, and that is online. You think that if you position your business online, everybody will see you. That's a big, fat lie. There's too much noise online, which means that you've got to target the platforms where your niche customers are on. It requires, digital intelligence to do that. So you don't just think, oh yeah, I'm just going to do adverts. I'm going to go online and do adverts. Oh, there's plenty of people online. It's not everybody online that will hear of you. It's not everybody online that will recognize you. It's not everybody online, right, that will need you. So what specific problem are you solving? Who specifically has the problem that you are a solution to? It is very, very important. How do they present their problems? What language? In what language do they present their problems? And how do you use that? How do you use that language? How do you use the way they present their problems to begin to create your marketing and sales strategy? So business in itself is a completely different ball game. You also need to understand business, how to start, how to manage, how to run a successful business. And that is where Kemi is talking about internship, your ability to volunteer, your ability to learn the ropes. Because working in a business is different from running a business. Two completely different things. And most importantly, why do you want to leave? Why do you want to leave that paid employment for business? Or is it because you want to be a business owner? Honestly, you can be an entrepreneur making the same impact. If it's because of pride and because you want to profess that I am now the CEO, I run my own business, then you have to check yourself before you wreck yourself. The why is so important. The reason why you do what you do is more important than what you do. When you do what you want to do is equally as important. Where you locate the business is as important. How you make that transition is as important. What you want to do, for who, and the problems you want to solve and how you want to solve those problems are very, very important as well. So let's leave business. Let's come back to the world of work. Based on research, they say that the world of work is no longer going to be looking at your degrees, your certificates anymore. The world of work is gravitating towards skills. And they say that, so your certificate and your experience is actually going to be obsolete by the end of this year. 70% of your experience, 70% of your knowledge, of your technical, know-how on the current job that you're going to do is going to be obsolete by the end of this year, first quarter 2026, right? And that every skill that you have, right, you need to upskill every 6 months. So the world of work is completely changed. Now, what are those skills? I mean, you talked about the World Economic Forum. I want us to go back to those 10 critical skills that the World Economic Forum say are so key. If you can mention 5, you can mention 6 of those skills that, and a lot of people are afraid that AI is going to come and take their jobs, okay? So is that dynamic between my experience that is going to be obsolete, artificial intelligence that is threatening? What is it that can give me security? What is it that can make me indispensable? What are those skills that guarantee that, wherever I show up, artificial intelligence ain't going to be able to compete with me? Whatever happens, in terms of, experiences being obsolete, certificates being obsolete, what are those core critical skills that I must go for to secure myself and to secure my job?
That's a good question. I think people who are scared that AI is going to take over, blah, blah, blah. Honestly, there's no need. There's no need to be worried, concerned that AI will take over. AI will evolve the type of jobs that people do. It's not going to take over completely in terms of wipe. Yes, it will, some jobs, but it's going to also create. So I think the World Economic Forum report said 85 million jobs will go or skills will go, but 97 million skills will be required. So you see the difference. It's not like, oh, I'm not going to be, but the thing is, and the reason why, so the first thing for me anyway, is adaptability. You've got to be able to adapt to this evolving, ever-changing environment or landscape that we're all operating in, right? You've got to be adaptable. You've got to know what tools, what does an organization need? Where are we going? What's going to happen in this organization in the next year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years? You've got to keep with the program, but be adaptable, because here's the thing, regardless of the complexities that AI poses, if you are adaptable, you will survive anything. So adaptability is absolutely key and fundamental to you embracing AI, and not just embracing it, but leveraging on AI. It's almost like AI has come to empower us, not to take our jobs. Think about it that way. It's come to give us better leverage to become more effective, to perform better, to be more productive, and ultimately for organizations to be more profitable. I think AI is very, very important in terms of allowing you the space to do even much more, allowing you the space to develop relationships, the time and space to do. What do I mean by that? What would take me an hour to do with AI would take me 10 minutes. The remaining 50 minutes, I decide how I want to use those 50 minutes. Do I want to use it to bond better with my child? So it gives you that opportunity. It releases your time basically to do things that you probably wouldn't have done otherwise. So adaptability, flexibility, very, very important. Agility, just in your thinking as well, not just in your behavior. So, behave agile, behave adaptable, think adaptability. So your boss says, we've got something new. Don't be the first one to say, it won't work. We've always done it this way. We don't like change here. Or, this is that. No. Don't be at least listen. Try to think, okay, how can I make this work? Not, it won't work here. No. Think, how can I make it work? What do I need to do? How do I need to think differently to ensure that this thing works, to ensure that we get the best out of what we're trying to do? So it's that adaptable, that agile mind, that flexible mind that is not fixated on, you often talk about the growth mindset, the fixed mindset. So it's having that growth mindset that encourages or embraces change. The ability to deal with uncertainty is fundamentally important, because people would say to you, the future of work is not known. So if that be the case, you've got to be able to deal with uncertainty. Another one is creativity and innovation. You've got to be creative. You've got to think, how can we achieve what we achieved last month, but in a better way, in a different way, in a way that's more effective, cost effective, and so on. And so you being able to just use your creative abilities will place you in a more, will add more value to you as an employee if you are, right? So that creativity around doing things, innovating, thinking flexibly, thinking, how can we do better? What does this organization need to do to stay relevant? And then you become a valuable member of the team. But to enhance your creativity, by all means, use AI. It's there to be leveraged on. It's there to be used. Think about it, use it to automate your systems, because actually automation is a big deal these days. So think about, how can you look at some of your processes that are long-winded, that are too laborious, that are heavily administrative? How can you ensure that you automate those processes, you digitize those processes to help for the benefit of the organization, right? Because if you're not thinking about it, someone else will think about it, and that's how someone else will take your job. Wow. So you've got to be able to think on those things. Another one is problem solving. You've got to be a problem solver. You've got to even think before the problem comes. You've got to anticipate the problems even before they show up, such that you're prepared in advance of, this is a problem. Yours is, okay, we knew that was going to be a problem, and this is how we're going to solve it. So Initiative is a big, big deal. Using your initiative to problem solve is a big deal. And I found I had an interesting conversation with my brother recently about initiative. And he says to me, Kemi, don't get upset. People operate in different cultural contexts. So if you work in a hierarchical culture, sometimes it's difficult for people to use their initiative to do things because they're thinking, oh, my boss, it's up to my boss, I'll leave it to my boss, and so on. So again, the environment that you're operating in would determine to some extent how well you do, but it's not taking away from the fact that you do need to use your initiative. Problem solving is almost like it's so, so needed. And in fact, all these skills that I've mentioned are the top. If you go onto any sort of AI, ChatGPT, Claude, it would tell you the skills that you need in today's world of work. You just must be creative, flexible and dynamic, innovative, be a critical thinker. That's another one. I could go on. There are so many skills that you need. Critical thinking is another one. It's just not the ability to think, but think critically. What does it mean to think critically? Think good, bad, yes, no, think about every single perspective. So maybe take a 360 view on certain things. Think it through. So be the one who says, yes, we can do all these things. Also, be the one who says, okay, we've done these things, but actually, where are the gaps? What could be the shortfalls? Don't just say, yeah, this is it, and no. Critique every single thing that you're doing. Think about, okay, the good, the bad, the pros, the cons, and then present your decisions or whatever it is that you've come up with to your boss. So you add value. You just add value to the organization and to your own self, actually, with some of those skills.
Wow, fantastic. Thank you very much. Critical reasoning and problem solving skills, which requires that you take initiative, innovation, and creativity is very, 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 very key. Agility, dynamism, flexibility, having a growth mindset is also very, very key. You also spoke about artificial intelligence and technology skills, the ability to collaborate and cooperate with artificial intelligence. So partner with it so that you can upscale your productivity, your performance. It's all about, I call it spirit, mind, AI, execution, collaboration. So you have to be tuned in. You have to be very intuitive. You have to know how to engage with artificial intelligence. Don't ask artificial intelligence basic things. Go deep within. The quality of questions, the quality of probing is what determines how artificial intelligence responds to you. So, and soul, engaging your spirit and your soul in engaging with artificial intelligence, engaging your mind, your critical mind, because artificial intelligence cannot critically think. It requires you to prompt it. So the quality of prompting, spirit, soul, that is spirit, mind, is very, very critical to how it's going to respond to you, aid you, assist you, and fully optimize, what you're looking for. But most importantly is how do you execute whatever it tells you to do? How do you also execute excellently? Very, very key. I just want to add a few, right? Your ability to develop coaching and mentorship skills. Very, very important. Your ability to utilize coaching and mentorship skills in everything you do. Ability to ask the right questions. Ability to see end to end and start with the end in mind. Your ability to develop skills that help you change belief systems, how you are thinking, your emotional dynamics. Another skill that is so key is emotional resilience and emotional intelligence. And one last one is your leadership skills, your ability to develop your self-leadership skills, your ability to develop the organizational leadership skills, your ability to develop the people leadership skills, your ability to develop your thought leadership skills, and your ability to develop your business leadership skills. Very, very important. Honestly, guys, If you can master these skills, you will be untouchable. You'll be unstoppable. You'll be indispensable. Very, very important. So one last question for you, Kemi, is, from everything you have said, you sound like you are very, very busy. How do you calm down? How do you let your head down? How do you find balance in life? What are the 2 things you do to just step it all down?
Yeah, I do many things, but I just wanted to add one more skill, which I thought, gosh, how could I have forgotten? Learning and continuous learning. So, like, if you stop learning, then you might as well just close your eyes and go to bed and not wake
You're
up.
finished. You're finished. Yeah.
Basically. So
Awesome.
it's so critically important. How do I step down? I love music. I love the spa, the sauna. It's just my happy place. I don't know what it is. So I'm there and I'm just like carried away. So I love that. And in fact, music, movies, music particularly.
Wow.
It's interesting. I was traveling on Saturday with a friend and I was a bit tired. It was a bit early in the morning. We were going to It Is Possible, right? And I was tired. And as soon as I put the music on, my friend said to me, huh? That's a different person. I just came to light. So I love music. I love sound. Not just music, sound. Sound. I love sound. It just puts me in a good place. And I love silence. I'm now loving it even more than. So I wake up in the morning and I just lie there. And it's just beautiful. It's a beautiful space to be in.
Wow.
So yeah,
Wow.
that's what I do for fun.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Kemi, for your wealth of wisdom and joining me in this conversation to add value on the subject matter, your career, your business, and transitioning from one level of your career to another level, transitioning from a career person to a business person. Thank you for joining me. And really, I want to thank all listeners for joining us on the Be Transformed podcast. Remember that transformation begins with a renewed mind. And once your mind is renewed, your career will be renewed, your life will be renewed, every aspect of your expression will be renewed. If you found great value in the conversation between Kemi and I today, then don't just keep this to yourself. You've got to share it. You've got to share the link to my podcast, the link to my YouTube, the link to my Spotify and Apple, or wherever it is that, people listen on podcasts from, right? Just share, just keep sharing. And together, let's work as collaborators and partners to keep transforming lives, one episode and one mind at a time. Until the next episode, I want to say, have a wonderful and incredible day. Shalom. I am successful. I look for and find opportunities where others see nothing. I am a lifetime learner. I am solution focused. I see only solutions. I am a solution.